Good afternoon, everyone. Okay po ba yung audio? Okay, thank you.
Yes
So,
po.
thank you.
Okay
So,
po, good afternoon.
nasa Plenary 2 conversations na po tayo, and this is the concluding session of the UP System GE Conference 2021. So, ang ating moderator po for this session will be Dr. Ruth uh, of DECAL, UP Diliman, Dr. Ruth.
Gandang hapon po.
Ayan, Pison. Thanks, Ma'am Ruth. Bigla akong napaisip. Ano na nga ba yun? Hello, Ma'am Ruth.
Good afternoon,
Thank you.
ma'am. Maayong hapon sa tanan, sa atong mga upod na faculty sa Visayas and sa Mindanao. Good afternoon. And welcome to this concluding session of the UP System-Wide GE Conference 2021. Ngayong hapon po, ang pag-uusapan natin ay ang UPGE Program Evaluation. Na naatasan po ang Technical Working Group for the UP System GE Program Evaluation po, no? The objective of this Technical Working Group is to determine the extent and depth to which the GE program meets its expected outcomes. Naka-flash po sa screen natin, no? Ang specific objectives ay to monitor how GE courses are meeting the expected students' learning outcomes, to evaluate how the GE program has met its expected program outcomes, and to assess the implementation of the GE program. Ayon sa napagkasunduan po, kung kailan magkakaroon ng evaluation, there shall be a regular evaluation of the GE courses and the GE program as a whole at the CU and system levels to measure the achievement of the knowledge, skill, and attitudinal dimensions of GE program and course objectives as follows. The achievement of knowledge and skill objectives should be evaluated annually at the course level, and there should be a cohort-based evaluation of the achievement of cross-cutting skills and attitudes. Po. Matagal din pong napag-usapan itong ang current evaluation po namin. Ilang buwan din kaming nag-meet. Para maitugma po yung mga items and yung mga questions sa survey para naman masigurado namin na tugma siya sa layunin ng evaluation. We were guided by the following points agreed on around in 2018 po, no, nung una tayo nagkaroon ng survey. The design of the GE program course evaluation should be carefully and collaboratively planned by the System GE Council and the CU GE councils of committees at the outset. This work shall include the formulation of the research questions, framework and methodology, including tools for data collection and analysis. And lastly, the evaluation plan should be comprehensive, covering normative assessments such as pre-tests and collection of baseline data, program implementation for teachers and administrators, and outcomes such as the exit evaluation of students. So, nag-revise. Matagal din napag-usapan itong current survey po na ito. So, nais ko pong ipakilala ang mga kasamahan namin sa TWG. Ilang buwan din kaming magkakasama. Pinag-usapan itong survey na to. Ang amin pong pinuno or chair ay si Professor Patricia Arinto po, Dean ng UP Visayas Tacloban College. Assistant Vice President po for Academic Affairs, Professor Evangeline Amor. Kasama din po si Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs, Professor Alisa Peleo Alampay. Assistant Professor Farah Cunanan of the Department of Linguistics, College of Social Sciences and Philosophy of UP Diliman. Associate Professor Aleli Esther Domingo, Institute of Mathematical Sciences and Physics from UP Los Baños, College of Arts and Sciences. Assistant Professor Joyce Ramon Punsalan from the School of Statistics, UP Diliman. And ako po, si Ruth Pison from the Department of English and Comparative Literature ng College of Arts and Letters, UP Diliman. Also with us, at siya po ang magpapakita po ng aming ang initial report, survey results po ay si Professor Fernando Paragas. He will show us the framework and preliminary results of the student and faculty GE experience surveys. Professor Paragas is from the Department of Communication Research, the College of Mass Comm in UP Diliman. He is the president of the Philippine Association for Communication and Media Research and the convener of the Higher Education Research and Policy Reform Program of the UP Center for Integrative Development Studies. He was lead researcher of the 2020 PhilCare Community Quarantine Wellness Index that was recently awarded the 2021 Gold Stevie Award for Best Communications or PR Campaign of the Year, COVID-19 related information in the Asia Pacific, and the top award in communication research at the 18th Philippine Quill Awards of the International Association of Business Communicators Philippines. Professor Paragas also received the gawad ng Chancellor sa natatanging guro sa UP Diliman noong 2019. So, po, inaanyayahan po namin si Professor Paragas para i-discuss po sa atin ang mga initial results. Bibigyan din po niya tayo ng framework ng kabuuang survey po na nagawa ng TWG. Sige po, Professor Paragas, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Maraming salamat, Dr. Pison. Alam po ninyo, mainit na mainit pa itong aming ipipresent sa inyo today. And I would admit that even if I have presented, various research papers for various audiences, when I present before my UP colleagues, talaga pong may kaba pa din. At saka, especially for the GA faculty, because this really brings me back exactly to 30 years ago when ang panimulang bilang ng aking buhay sa UP ay ang GE courses. Naalala kong unang-unang klase ko ay Communication 1. So, magandang hapon po, so let me begin. So we started with the goal of exploring student and faculty insights on the GE program. In the first semesters of AY 2018 to 2019 and AY 2019 to 2020, we implemented course-based student and faculty surveys using the course and program outcomes as listed in the GE framework. In this first semester of 2019-2020, we also conducted the first round of focus group discussions with students. Our subsequent analysis of the data from both the FGD and the surveys revealed that the surveys, as designed, were not capturing the essence of the GE program. We realized too that course level outcomes are already measured through course assessment tools, and that courses collectively contribute to the attainment of GE program objectives. When we revisited our efforts, therefore, we decided to reformulate the survey to focus on the GE experience, as surfaced from the FGDs and our GE framework. We did a similar process for our faculty survey. However, our initial redrafting of the instrument did not meet acceptable thresholds for acceptable scale reliability. Thus, we drafted a survey with open-ended items, the answers to which can be processed both quantitatively and qualitatively. Compared to the initial survey on student and faculty on course and program outcomes, which essentially had the same items, the new instruments are tailored to the experiences of the faculty members and students respectively. We also reconceptualized the third component, which used to be about programs, more concretely into administration. So now the main theme of our monitoring and evaluation is the GE experience. How do we define it? We define it as the shared learning experience that serves as the hallmark of a UP education, as a common learning experience for students from various degree programs, and the experience of teaching and learning GE courses, in contrast with other courses. And finally, as comprising the cross-cutting skills and attitudes or dispositions learned from the GE experience as a whole. So what are the objectives right now? Firstly, is to determine whether, how, and to what extent the GE program meets its expected outcomes. Specifically, for students and faculty to understand their GE experience, for the administration to assess the administration of the GE program, and eventually for our alumni to evaluate the lifelong learnings from the GE program. In our new evaluation matrix, we have the student, faculty, and administration components, as I have just explained. To monitor their insights, we intend to employ quantitative and qualitative approaches. We have already piloted the new survey of GE students, and this survey will be implemented every second semester. We have also piloted the new faculty survey, which has quantitative and qualitative items. These two will be conducted every second semester. As needed, especially to surface insights from survey findings or to explore new areas for monitoring, we will conduct focus group discussions. Next semester, and every first semester hence, we will begin processing administrative data such as those on enrollment, grades, and SET. We will also design protocols and procedures for interviews with department chairs, college secretaries, GE coordinators, and program advisors. In terms of evaluation, we will include items about the GE program in the UP Graduate Exit Survey and the UP Alumni Tracer Survey. We will also conduct Exit FGDs and Alumni Tracer FGDs. Finally, we will process our admin data using 4-year moving averages. So what are included now in the student survey? These are the profile variables. So we'll explain later the findings, the preliminary findings for each of these variables. We also have 5 sets of Likert scales using a 5-point system, and the statements include 9 for program delivery, 10 for complementarity between GE and non-GE courses, 3 for the combination of GE courses, 3 for the relevance of the GE curriculum, and 5 for program outcomes. For the faculty survey, these are the variables. Again, I'll go through this when I present the findings. For the quantitative and qualitative items, we have 2 sections. First is on the experience of teaching GE. So there are 10 items, 2 of which, the ones in green, are quantitative or close-ended in nature. And then we have the second part on the GE learning experience, for which we have 5 open-ended items. So moving forward, what are we going to do in terms of the framework? Marami pa kaming gagawin, ano? So we have our work cut out for us, starting with analysis of our very fresh, sariwang-sariwang student and faculty survey data. And as I noted earlier, we have to design and implement the admin component of our framework, as well as develop and conduct our evaluation protocols. So that's our framework. Now, guided by the framework, let me now present the findings from our pilot implementation of the faculty GE experience survey. So as an overview, we conducted this online from April 14 to 25. However, we didn't meet the ideal response rate, so extended the period of administration to May 5, 2021. Eventually, we got 294 out of potential 741 respondents, or an acceptable 40% response rate. Industry standard is at 30%. So today, I'm going to present the system-wide findings. And let me again emphasize these are preliminary results. So out of our respondents, 31%, or almost a third, came from UP Diliman, a fifth respectively from Los Baños and the Visayas. And the remainder of the respondents were from Baguio, Manila, Cebu, Mindanao. We had no respondents from the Open University. So in terms of sex at birth, majority of the respondents are female, 56%, and 42% were men. In terms of age, the respondents between 31 to 40 and 40 years old comprised the biggest group, about a third of all respondents. And then about a fifth of all the respondents were between 21 to 30 years old, or 41 to 50 years old, respectively. while 18% were between 51 and 60 years old. In terms of the highest educational attainment, half of the respondents had a master's degree, around a third had a doctorate, and the remainder had a bachelor's degree. In terms of appointment, exactly half were untenured or temporary, and then 47% were tenured or had a permanent appointment. In terms of rank, assistant professors comprised the biggest group of respondents, around 33%, and then almost equal lead between instructors and associate professors, around 12%. We also had about 9% of lecturers, senior lecturers, and professorial lecturers. Maybe this has implications later on the loading of faculty members across ranks. In terms of the years teaching, the biggest group, 23%, had taught at UP for more than 20 years, followed by those who had been teaching for 3 to 5 years. They comprised 20% of the respondents. And then around 33% had taught between 6 to 15 years. So quite a good mix of number of years of teaching. In terms of teaching load, 72% had 6 to 12 units. However, almost a quarter of respondents, or 24%, taught more than 12 units this semester, are teaching more than 12 units this semester. Now let me present one of the three sets of findings that I'll show you from the faculty data set. So the first is, which of the following have shaped, for better or for worse, your experience as a GE faculty member? So please check all that apply. What is the most influential factor? It's the mix of students. And this refers to students coming from different programs or year levels. Followed by, a close second, the diversity of perspectives shared. And third, the issues discussed in class. Around 3/4 of the respondents said or answered the way you interact with students and the types of learning activities for students. Around a third of the respondents cited the attitude of students, the way they prepare for class, and the primary aim in teaching the course. And then further down the line, we have the way students interact with each other, their attitude as a teacher, the way learning is measured, and the only item which received less than half of tick marks were their interactions with other GE faculty, especially of the same course. So maybe this has implications on how faculty members within a sharing the same course interact with each other. And then the second item, which of the following do you take into account when designing your GE course? Again, this is please check all that apply. The most important, and I think this may relate to the pandemic, is the course delivery mode or the learning platform at 89%. Second to it is the GE program objectives. And third is the GE philosophy. So more than 8 out of every 10 respondents cited these items. And then further down the line, we have the mix of students in terms of the degree programs and class size. So around 2/3 of the respondents. And then less than half of the respondents checked the following items: the mix of students in terms of year levels, the number of GE classes or sections that they are teaching, their faculty load for the semester, and the term, and the least important consideration is a term when the course is taught at 16%. Now, again, the qualitative data are quite voluminous, so I'm going to present you one, but this is still at the very literal plane of word count. So the first item was, do you enjoy teaching courses? And overwhelmingly, almost all of you said that you enjoy teaching GE courses, around 95%. And then I just did a quick review of the answers, and these were the most frequently cited words: different or various, because it's an opportunity to interact, the diversity of students, etc. So these are the top words which recurred in the answers for this item. So I then chose exemplar quotations for each one. So when is the word different or the word various cited? Here are some exemplar quotations. I do enjoy teaching GE because I get to meet students from different courses. And I like making math haters hate math less. And so obviously from GE, from math. And then second bullet, I enjoy teaching students from different backgrounds and with different interests. There is normally a heterogeneous mixture of ideas during discussions, which enriches appreciation of various topics. And then the third bullet, yes, exposure to students with various majors enables me to share the import of communication to different disciplines. So yun yung the use of different and various. How about interact and engage? Yes, because one gets to interact and engage with students from all colleges and programs. And yes, GEs serve as a venue to interact with students outside my own college and department, and therefore get to know other perspectives. In terms of diversity, yes, there's diversity in student background and experience, which makes discussion interesting. Yes, because I love the disciplinary dimension brought about by the diversity of the students. How about the word other? It is used this way. I enjoy it because I get to meet students from other courses and be able to emphasize the value of excellence coupled with integrity. Plus, to share to them the importance of interdisciplinary work, especially in agriculture and endeavors. And then the last bullet, yes, I get to meet students from other colleges. This widens my perspective. So there's also the widening of the worldview. How about opportunity? Yes, I grab every opportunity to make students appreciate math and to popularize math. Yes, because of the opportunity to bring up interdisciplinary approaches in understanding society. How about the use of outside? Yes, because I get to influence students outside of my unit's programs. Yes, I do enjoy teaching GE courses. It is always a joy to have diverse students open themselves to ideas and lessons outside of their concentrations. Then there's talk of issues. Yes, I enjoy teaching GE courses because I get to tackle topics and issues that concern us in everyday lives. Yes, it helps students explore issues about society and the world outside their discipline. In terms of insights, the respondents said, I get to work with students from several disciplines and highly prize those sessions when we compare notes from our respective fields and bring the insights to bear on the subject matter. Another one said, yes, because I learn new insights about the topics discussed in the course too. And finally, in terms of freedom, yes, because these courses are the best opportunities to exercise academic freedom. This is also the place where you can foster higher order thinking skills. GE courses are also the best way to make the subject matter relevant to all types of learners regardless of degree program. And finally, more freedom in discussing themes and can diversify teaching strategies and ways of learning. So those are the positive remarks from students from faculty members who enjoy teaching GE. However, there were some respondents who were not enjoying their teaching of GE, and these were their answers. No, there are many students difficult to handle. No, in my case, I think there's a mismatch between the course objectives and the forms of assessment for the GE course I am teaching, or not much. Perhaps the way the module was designed made it not so exciting. And finally, I started teaching during the pandemic when all classes were carried out online. I had neither training nor experience on teaching such course. I was provided with a course pack on the first day of class. As everyone is continuously adjusting to this mode of teaching or learning, it was a struggle to teach this course without feeling that sense of fulfillment at the end of one semester. The idea of pandemic was also cited among those who were quite ambivalent in their level of enjoyment about GE or of GE. So why conditional? I do, but only before the pandemic. It was easier to plan my activities and lessons, and it was more engaging. And then several of the conditional responses cited this. It depends on the topic at hand on how the students respond, material preparations, generally enjoying it though than not. And this again depends on the class. If students speak up and voice out what they're thinking, then the discussion is more enjoyable. So this is the first of the many items that are in the faculty experience survey. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to crunch the others, but here ito yung pwede nyo yung subaybayan, once we are able to thematize the findings. Here are the other items. Given the choice, would you prefer to teach only major courses or only GE courses or a mix of both? Why? Is there a difference in the way you handle or teach a GE course and a non-GE course? What is or are the differences, if any? What is your primary aims or goals in teaching GE? What are the top 3 problems or issues that you face in handling GE courses? How do you think can these problems or issues be addressed? And what improvements or innovations can help address these problems or issues? What training do you think GE faculty members need? What particular topics do you think should be covered in a training for GE faculty? And what other support do you think faculty members need to teach GE? And then please explain briefly. So we'll be releasing the findings soon. And then the second part of the GE faculty survey pertains to the GE learning experience. What do you think should students be learning in the UP GE program? What do you think is the place or contribution of GE in the UP undergraduate curriculum, if any? Do you think that there's such a thing as a UPG experience for students? How we describe this UPG experience? And finally, how has the UP experience changed, if at all, with the shift to remote learning? As you can see, we have presented an admittedly still literal way of processing data, but we are developing the protocols for a more nuanced and inductive thematization of categorization of faculty insights on GE. What we have shown is the basic picture of the GE experience for respondents across the whole UP system. Our next step is to explore how variables and concepts connect to each other and to surface how GE may be experienced differently across certain attributes and levels of academic units, as well as within each program or course. We also have to reflect upon the findings to draw meaningful implications and recommendations from the data. So ideally, really, I hope that when the next iteration of the survey comes out, you would answer it, because we would really all benefit from a big base of informants, of respondents, because then we could analyze really at the course level. Okay, so that's the faculty component. I know there's a lot of data. We'll have some opportunity to discuss this mamaya. But let me proceed to the student GE experience. This is the third and final part of my presentation this afternoon. Again, we conducted the online survey between April 28 and May 5, 2021. We received 4,300 responses, quite a big amount, but still it's only 20% response rate out of the 21,565 students who took GE. So we are quite below the acceptable response rate threshold. Again, I'll present the system-wide findings. These are preliminary in nature, and hopefully when I go through these findings, you'll start to think of how you can analyze the data for your own purposes. So essentially, use this template as a guide for your own or for your respective analysis. So the outline, I'll show the respondent's profile, and then the findings for each of the 5 components, component scales in the GE student survey. So let me proceed with the respondent's profile. Ang pinakamasipag ng mga sumagot ay mga taga Los Baños at 33%, followed by 16% from the Visayas and Diliman, 15% from Baguio, around 10% from Manila, 7% from Cebu, 3% from Mindanao, and 1% from OU. Pakimute po ang inyong microphone. Salamat po. Ayan. Hindi ko Ayan, so I'll proceed to the respondents profile now. So in terms of sex at birth, 66% of the student respondents were female, 32% were male. Sex at birth pala ito. In terms of age, the respondents were the biggest group of respondents was 19 years old when they answered the survey. 29% were 20 years old, 22% were 21 years old and older. So quite good diverse set of respondents in terms of age. However, in terms of year level, half of the respondents were in their first year, 29% were there in second year, and 15% were in their third year. 42% or 43% rather of the respondents were in their second semester in UP, and then 24% were in their fourth semester or they were sophomores, as I've shown earlier. In terms of their track in senior high school, 94% of the respondents were in the academic track. And in terms of strand, they were in the general academic track. 8% said that strands were not applicable in their case. So now let me go to the scales for the 5 component scales. So we use a 5-point Likert scale where 5 is positive and 1 is negative. And then you can see here the threshold cutoffs. So when the score is 4.225, then the respondent strongly agreed. If the score is between 3.4 and 4.2, then the respondents agree, so on and so forth. So let me go to program delivery. Yan. So again, our Código is at the bottom of the screen. You look at the mean. It's faster to look at the mean score, but you can also look at the percentage distribution using the bar chart on the right of your screen. So 4.25, if you look at our legend at the bottom of the screen, it is at the strongly agree. So the respondents strongly agreed that in general, their professors had a positive attitude towards teaching GE courses. Meanwhile, the respondents agreed, because it's between 3.4 to 4.2, that in general, their GE professors were well prepared to teach GE courses, that the course requirements in their GE courses were aligned with or appropriate to the learning objectives. They also agreed that studying their GE courses required too much time, and that the volume of course materials in their GE courses was too much. Again, they also agreed that the learning activities in their GE courses were engaging. However, they also agreed that there are too many learning activities in their GE courses. So in the first 2 rows were a level of agreement. However, they were ambivalent or neither agreed nor disagreed for the following items: that their courses were among their priority subjects, that they felt motivated to study their GE courses, and this is the lowest scoring item, that they received timely feedback on my work in GE courses. So those are the items for program delivery. The next scale pertained to complementarity between GE and non-GE courses. So we had 5 items here. Again, looking at our legend at the bottom of the screen, we'll find that the students strongly agreed or marginally strongly agreed in 2 items. They developed new perspectives in their GE courses, and that the GE courses helped develop their appreciation of disciplines other than their own. They agreed to the following statements: that their GE courses help develop skills and perspectives that are essential in their discipline, and that the GE courses enable them to interact with students from other disciplines or colleges. And finally, that the GE courses completed or rounded out their experience of a UP education. So all at the level of agreement or strong agreement. And then for the following items, you can see that the first three rows are at the level of agreement. I developed skills, or the students develop skills in their GE courses that were not developed in other courses. That the GE courses deepened knowledge and skills learned in senior high school subjects. There was an adequate number of GE courses in their degree program. So again, level of agreement. For the last two, don't be shocked. These are negatively phrased items. So this is within the neither agreed nor disagreed spectrum. They neither agreed nor disagreed that they saw little connection between their GE courses and non-GE courses, and that there were unnecessary overlaps between their GE courses and non-GE courses. For the last two, they were quite ambivalent. Now, let me go to I think this is the third scale, the combination of courses. Ito, mixed answers. You will see for the first item, 3.47, which is at the marginal level of agreement, there's a good balance between the number of required and elective GE courses in their degree program. So agreed, but towards the lower end of the spectrum. And then they were ambivalent about being allowed to take more elective GE courses. And then they disagreed that there should be more required GE courses in their degree program. I should mention that compared to the other scales, which had good scale reliability coefficients, this one doesn't comprise, or these three statements do not comprise one scale. So I suppose if we test within specific programs, then maybe the scale will be more reliable in that regard, but not for lump sum analysis like this. And then for the relevance of the GE curriculum. Again, 3.94, which places at the level of agreement, the GE program was relevant to their personal life. They also agreed that the GE program was relevant to their career path and to their degree program. So in terms of relevance, it's a level of agreement. You can see also from the bar chart on the right that 23% strongly agreed to the first statement, or only about that, or just over a tenth of the respondents for the second and third items. Finally, for program outcomes. You can see again the threshold is 4.20. So for the first two items, the respondents strongly agreed that the GE program broadened their intellectual and cultural horizons, and that the GE program honed their critical and creative thinking. For the next two items, or for the next three items, level of agreement. The GE program fostered their commitment to nationalism and social justice. The GE program cultivated a high sense of intellectual and moral integrity. And the GE program developed their compassion for learning and scholarship. Yeah. So moving forward, we have a variable on the list of classes taken. So we have the mix of GE courses that students have taken. And using this, once we have cleaned the data, we can do course comparisons. And then the respondents also answered the following items pala, in terms of course comparisons. Which of the following common GE courses best meet the GE program objectives? Pick at most 5 that you have taken. Which other GE courses, not listed in item 1, that you have taken best meet the GE program objectives? List at most 3. Which GE courses did you like the best? Again, list at most 3. And recalling the GE courses that you have taken, how would you describe your GE experience so far? So ito, for this item, we are still cleaning the data because the respondents, even when we had a drop-down menu, would have different spelling sometimes. So before we present the data to you, we might as well ensure that the data are clean before we run the findings for these variables. Once we have a clean data file with these 5 other variables, then we can perform various bivariate and multivariate analysis. We can do analysis at the campus, college, department or institute, and program levels. So it is important, as I've said, that we really encourage our students to answer this survey, because only when we have that mass of responses can we really identify at the program level how what would the findings be. And eventually, once we really are able to implement the survey repeatedly across many years, then we can perform longitudinal analysis. Again, we need to take some time to reflect upon these findings and then maybe surface some implications and recommendations. We were thinking about something, one, when I was looking at the data, but something about the motivation, about students taking GE, and the perceived benefit. So on the one hand, mataas yung kanilang pagpapahalaga sa naranasan nila sa GE, but the level of motivation seems to be not as high. So there are findings like this that we need to tease out more carefully in the future. So yan po ang aming findings right now. You can email us. This is the email of our technical working group. And now I'll turn over the floor to Dr. Pison and Prof. Farah Kunanan for our open forum. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Paragas. Maraming salamat po for summarizing, highlighting the very important points na nakita even dito sa preliminary results of the survey. Marami pang trabaho ang technical working group, but anyway, we're looking forward to meeting again siguro, Sir Paragas, para ma-flesh out pa yung marami nating data, but ngayon po, magkakaroon po tayo ng short Q&A na si Ma'am Kunanan, ang Farah Kunanan of the Department of Linguistics, ang mag-moderate po. Ma'am Farah?
Thank you, Ma'am. So before I go to the questions, may ilang comments lang sa chat box kanina. Good to hear the balance between quantity and quality in the evaluation framework. Thank you for that. Isa pong suggestion from Professor Pichi Mendoza. I hope your thematic analysis for quality data goes through validation. So ilan pong mga points na we will work on when we meet again for the processing of the data. I would like to invite also the participants to post their questions either on the chat box, or you can use the Slido link. Nakapost din po sa chat box yung Slido link. So ito po yung ilang mga tanong na binigay nung registration. Una siguro yung related muna po sa assessment. Yung una, clarification lang, will the current 21 GE program be assessed? I think this refers to the minimum 21 units. So yun nga po yun yung simula talaga nitong yung trabaho ng committee, And then that's from Professor Yani Lopez of UP Diliman. And then from Professor Benito Pacheco of UP Diliman, do we consider both cross-sectional and longitudinal studies among students? How about among teachers? May mga nabanggit na po kanina si Prof. Paragas, but maybe the committee can still elaborate on our plans for this. Cross-sectional and longitudinal studies. Sir Ernan, siguro po pwede niyo pong konting elaboration lang po dun sa nabanggit niyo kaninang multivariate analysis, may variate analysis na pwede gawin.
For both student and faculty data, we will be able to run the analysis. Actually, we've performed some of them, but we need to review the data before we release. So for instance, we can compare the answers across sex at birth or across year levels. For instance, we have a hypothesis that ideally students take more GE, then they will be more favorable about the program outcomes. Parang there should be incremental contributions. So by the time they're the fourth year, they should have a higher regard for their GE experience. So may ganyang, we have several hypotheses, but we will present in due time once we really have cleaned the data. And for instance, as Dr. Mendoza has suggested, for instance, for the qualitative data, we have to validate and then go through intersubjectivity, etc. Yes, so we have these plans, we have the data to compare across variables and also across the years. So through once we have implemented this, maybe for one whole batch, then we'll be able to do not only cross-sectional analysis, but longitudinal analysis too, for both faculty and student data. Thank you, Farah.
Salamat po, sir. Sana po mas naririnig din ako ng maayos ngayon. May dagdag na tanong po for evaluation from Professor Melania Flores. Paano magkakaroon ng common o standard evaluation kung magkakaiba ang enabling environment sa mga CUs?
Ayan. So I think I can answer. The idea really is for us to release the data for the different programs and then for the programs to analyze at their level kung ano yung makikita, no? Because as I've said, we have different contexts. Magkakaiba po ang ating enabling environment, katulad ng sabi ni Prof. Melania Flores. Kaya po yun ang goal talaga, na ideally marami talagang sumagot, faculty and students, para dun sa level ng analysis at the campus, college, department, or program level, we have a sufficient number of respondents. So yun po. So what we'll do, medyo na pag-usapan pero ayoko na i-commit ang committee. I think kailangan natin na magkaroon ng workshop, yun nga na kung paano ba gamitin ang data na ito later on. As I've said, I've only presented the system-wide findings, but we can do the same for different levels of academic units. Thank you.
Thank you po. Isa pong question galing sa Slido. Could we learn the reason that the mean rather than median mode or IQR was used as a measure of central tendency for the survey data?
Ito po ay simula pa lang. So we will do all of the tests. So nakita niyo po ay lang Huwebes ito ginawa. Pero kumpletuhin po namin ito and then we'll release the findings to you. And then maybe the protocols also for analysis at the different levels of academic units.
Follow-up question from Professor Melania Flores. Paano susukatin ang GEP evaluation kung di-defined ang indicators, I suppose, ang kahulugan ng mga layunin ng GEP gaya ng nasyonalismo at social justice?
Maybe Prof Pat here. Maybe she can better answer philosophical items.
Ano? Hello?
How do we measure like nationalism, social justice, which are the indicators of which are not defined?
Yeah, actually yung mga ganyan, as everybody already knows, and even the question suggests it, no? Survey approach really assumes a lot of things, including that people interpret your questions the same way, and that they understand the terms used in the same way, which of course is a huge assumption to make. So kailangan talaga ng mixed methods, no? Kasi one approach like this, it obviously will not catch that or will elide that. So I guess at this, it is for this sort of thing that it's very important, for example, to have a focus group discussion where people can discuss, can clarify what they mean, no? And you can also have interviews, qualitative interviews, no? So for that, you have to go back to the whole framework for evaluation because you cannot capture everything with one instrument or one approach.
Thank you very much. Regarding GE evaluation in the program and course levels, will there be enough data to work on, especially for those GEs with a lower number of students? So kung course level na po yung gagawin evaluation.
Oo, that really poses a problem. Kaya I have emphasized earlier that we really should encourage our students to answer because, well, the response rate should at least be 30% from each program. So we know the enrollment for each course, and ideally we meet the threshold for the response rate, no, for each of the programs.
Siguro
Pero right now, as I've said, mababa nga yung ating cumulative, ano. So hopefully when things are, we're better situated, mahirap pa rin naman ho kasi ngayon dahil pandemic, sumasagot ng mga itong survey. Hopefully when things are, and we are in a better place, we'll have higher response rates. Ito po ay pilot, so sa susunod po, sana once we really see the benefit of such a survey like this, then we encourage the students to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dadagdag ko lang po siguro na sa course level, pwede rin tayo yung department naman ang mag-probe, no? Pwede magdagdag ng qualitative methods para pwede mag-interview ng estudyante para ma-probe din kung ano ba yung kulang, ano yung maganda. So I think at different levels we can also do this evaluation. Thank you very much. From Professor Regina Gochuiko of UP Diliman, how should we envision GE in the next normal? What and how do we evaluate as regards teaching learning in the next normal? Anyone from?
We have an item on that, but we haven't processed yet. That's the last of the items in the faculty survey. So meron data, but maybe we can discuss right now siguro, which can also help us in analyzing the responses for that item. Maybe some of you can also share your experiences as to what to look for in processing of the item on experiences in the new or next normal.
Thank you. So we invite you if you have any ideas or suggestions on what to look for when we evaluate teaching, learning GE, and probably other courses also in the next new normal. Isa pa pong tanong from Professor Falguera, Norbert Bonifacio of UP Los Baños, will the GE framework align GE courses to research? Or how can we align the GE framework to research? Sino po kaya sa committee ang pwedeng sumagot nito? Can we align the GE framework to research? Or how do we align the GE framework to research? Pwede ko po bang iba to ulit kay Ma'am Pat?
Sasabihin ko pa lang, naku, wag mo akong tawagin. Hindi ko alam. No, I mean, I have trouble understanding the question. I'm sorry. But obviously, if we were to talk about the evaluation as a program of research, okay, which is different from the question, of course, then yeah, I think that's the best approach to take to this, no? So I wanted, so just to take the opportunity to say that really the evaluation of the program, I think this is how Professor Hernan started, no? The evaluation of the program really has to be a collective endeavor. And we have to look at GE as an object of research, if you like. We need to take that kind of critical stance to it, the scholar's stance, and be able to evaluate how we have designed it and how we are implementing it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Siguro sa logistics po ito, no? Question from Professor Benito Pacheco. How feasible that the survey be linked with student record or faculty record to minimize the length of survey?
Yan nga po ang ideal, but we have concerns about data privacy and linking of records. So if we can explore, but palaging yun yung first hurdle na linking answers din sa survey to student and faculty records. Pag-usapan siguro po ulit namin kung paano ito pwede gawin, pero yun yung unang-unang balakid sa amin ay yung data privacy protocols.
Puntahan ko po muna ibang tanong galing sa registration, no? Siguro yung ibang tanong dito ay pwede ring sumagot ang ilang participants. How best to mentor undergraduate students on choice of GE courses besides what is relatively easier on their mental health? At siguro related question doon ay how can teachers improve balancing student interest with the GE course with the learning outcomes of a GE course, and how do you ensure honor and excellence in general education remotely? So how to best mentor students to their choice of GE, considering mental health, how to balance student interests with the GE course, with the learning outcomes, and how to ensure honor and excellence in general education remotely. Anyone from the committee? Or maybe even the DWG implementation committee can also answer some of the questions.
Ma'am Farah?
Yes.
Sa clarify lang siguro yung question yung how to best mentor. Is it related to advising?
I
Like
think
how
it's advising.
it's the advising. I think na mahalaga yan ngayon lalo na sa remote learning, no, na tutok ang tayo sa mga advices natin. Actually, ganun naman talaga nangyayari lalo na ngayon, 'di ba? Like what courses to take, mas malapit siguro ngayon. They need us more this time. Kasi nga nahirapan marami sa mga students, no. I think it has something to do with advising yung sa implementation na yan sa department level siguro, no. At saka yung how to yung honor and excellence.
How to ensure honor and excellence.
I've heard yung napanood yung mga ibang GE conversations, marami din namang lumabas doon sa mga presentations ng ating co-faculty teaching different GE. Sa teaching strategy ba yon or sa pedagogy, no? Makikita din how to integrate those values siguro sa teaching ng kurso.
Yeah, I think isang common na suggestions ay parang letting the students talk about their personal experiences. Para ito yung mga hindi nila nakokopya sa internet. Assessment that is more relatable to them and they can answer from their perspective. Gaya ng nasabi ni Ma'am Ruth, even improving balancing student interest with the GE course. Marami ring nabanggit in the past GE conversations, yung struggles talaga na how to keep students motivated, pero lumalabas sa GE conversations na talagang mahalaga lalo na ngayon ang pagtuturo ng GE at pagkuha din ng kursong GE. Dahil nasa ganito tayong sitwasyon. At malaki ang maitutulong ng GE sa hindi lang sa atin bilang mamamayan pero sa mga estudyante rin natin as they develop, as they mature and face the world. Okay. Thank you. A question from Professor Archil Capistrano. Will surveys such as this inform a revisit or revision of teacher performance evaluation in the pandemic context and beyond? So, siguro ano yung implications nito sa teacher performance evaluation ngayong pandemya at pag nakalagpas na tayo sa ganitong context?
Can we invite the professor who raised that question to elaborate?
Professor Capistrano, can you elaborate? Professor Archil Capistrano. Still here. Can you elaborate on your question, sir? While we wait for that, can the evaluate, siguro related sa tanong ni Professor Pacheco kanina, can the evaluation be integrated into the SET? Quite tedious if students will be answering more surveys at the end of the semester. So yung isa pong tinitingnan namin ay yung timing ng pag-release ng survey. This is something that we can also consider, that we also have to consider when we do future surveys.
At saka Ma'am Farah, siguro pwede kong i-add na tinitignan din natin yung, meron ding technical working group na nagsasagawa ng pag-aaral din ng SET. And then I guess tinitingnan din natin kung paano natin mako-connect yung ginagawa ng technical working group ng GE evaluation dito sa magiging resulta nitong isinasagawang pag-aaral nitong SET ng technical working group. Kasi kung maaalala natin, nagbago yung SET instrument na ginamit natin beginning, I think, kung tama alala ko, 2019. Oo.
Oo. So ma'am, which is why I was wondering if there could be more elaboration on it. Kasi I was wondering if part of the question is also a comment on the current way that we are evaluating teacher performance. For example, in the new set, no, which of course is agnostic about the context, the teaching and learning context. But theoretically, yeah, dapat if we learn from the evaluation results and act on the evaluation results, then one possibility would be that we would, revise what needs revising.
Thank you. May comment si Dr. Pacheco na I'd say that this evaluation is a research in itself with the requisite problem hypothesis data validation techniques. From Professor Flores, Melania Flores, nagiging mahalaga ang evaluation lagpas sa evaluation per se kung ginagamit sa benefits katulad ng PPP awards. Dito crucial ang pagiging patas sa educating environment across use, class size between undergrad and graduate courses, evaluation respondents. I think ito yung isang gustong i-address ng committee ngayon as totality ng GE program. Hindi lang learning experience but also the administrative side of it. Tama po ba ang sagot ko, Ma'am Pat, Ma'am Banji?
Yeah, but I just wanted to say na, yeah, in fact, we ought to be wary of such evaluation programs, no, that are tied to to benefits and such. Kasi parang una, there is no perfect evaluation instrument, and then once your livelihood becomes dependent upon it, then it's a problem. So the question is the statement, I mean the comment is self-explanatory. It's just that I was thinking na if we tie that to the comment of Professor Pichi, for example, and Professor Benny about the evaluation of the GE being a research program in itself, then I would say na this is the sort of evaluation we would like, no? Na first of all, it's ongoing. It's not something we leave until the end of whatever end that might be. You have to start it from the beginning, and it's an iterative process, and it should really inform the implementation of the program. And the point being that it is something that will help us improve what we are doing, no, and not necessarily be part of some kind of a performance measure or yardstick, no, that is external to the program itself.
Thank you. From Professor Mabel Fernandez Vallado, perhaps instead of a simple survey, maybe we can do a SWOT analysis instead. We may then see how the strengths and weaknesses of GE can be improved, be aware of the opportunities that GE offers, and address the threats or problems that students face. Thank you for that suggestion. Yung next question from Professor Joanna Cruz, I don't know if someone can answer this, but could you give us a brief update on the revision of the set for the online blended learning?
Okay. Tatanong ko si Ma'am Alisa kung pwede siyang sumagot. Kung hindi si Ma'am Alisa, si Ma'am Peachy. Kasi part din si Ma'am Peachy nung technical working group ng SET, yung mag-aaral kasama si Ma'am Divine. But I think wala pang napag-uusapan tungkol sa revision, no? Ma'am Peach, gusto mong mag-comment?
Oh, I'll unmute myself, no?
Yeah.
Well, the next step for the SET, no, after it was rolled out during the pandemic, unfortunately, was to find out whether it would be able to perform as well in the context of the pandemic. Because when we did develop the SET for even for remote learning context, no, and Ma'am Arinto knows this very well. We had discussions with the OpenU about it. No, we did not view the remote learning mode in the context of a pandemic, which is very different. Ano? So, you add that layer, we need to know now what would be the effect of the pandemic on a remote context for using the SET as a kind of evaluation for faculty performance. Remember that all this in context is to have an instrument that could be used across the system, no, that so that you have at least the same items for all faculty for decision-making purposes such as promotions or tenure. But again, the purpose of the SET, other than that, will now be based on what other uses a particular CU will have for it. For example, it's possible to conduct or to develop first, no, training programs for communication. No? Maybe that's one of the problems that we see with faculty. They're not communicating very well during the remote learning kind of mode. No? Pwedeng gawin yun. So as I had given in my most recent comments sa chat box, no, when you evaluate anything, any program, no, uh, it is meant to provide feedback. So while I thank Professor Paragas for his very organized presentation of the results, it's difficult to understand it. That's why you have so many comments coming in because we have not been cued in terms of what is the purpose or the design of this evaluation. What is it for? What's the research design? What's the problem? What are the objectives? And then, what's your sampling design? Kasi na-mention 30% is the industry standard, but industries are also different. No? In this industry or that industry. So we need to know what are our parameters for these comments or this feedback that we are asking for, whether it's from students or whether it's from faculty. In other words, you need to be holistic in 'di ba? Yun naman ang objectives ng ng GE, to be holistic because you know all the perspectives. I think that's why ang daming comments na paiba-iba yung point. Kasi hindi nga natin alam, gagamitin ba tong data na to improve the GE? In what way are we going to use it? Because if you get information but you don't do anything about it, it's very unsettling. And in OD, we always say when you introduce new information, it can cause more confusion if you don't know what you're using it for. So, nagtatanong ngayon ng marami, what does this mean? What will you do with it? Where do we go from here? We need to know those things. And that's the same thing with the set. That's why we have been more careful about, we did the rollout, but we ask that it not be used for any decision making because we don't know the validity at this point. We need to get information for that. And that's when we will uh, see whether it will be useful or not if we continue with the pandemic plus the remote mode of learning. Sorry, medyo mahaba yun.
Okay lang. Thank you, Ma'am Peach.
Yes, ma'am.
Gusto pa mag-comment nila Sir Ernan o kaya nila Ma'am Pat? Or perhaps any other members of the committee?
Sir Ernan, do you want to say something? Oh.
Actually, in terms of the implications, recommendations, no, yun, talagang hindi pa natin napag-usapan sa committee saan ba paputungo ito. I mean, admittedly, the results are out, fresh from runs. But in terms of anticipating, siguro we can discuss this more carefully with the committee. Ano ba talagang, we have the data now, how will this inform the GE programs, the different courses, for instance, and the different programs, what is the ideal number of GE classes per program, mga ganyan. Pero we have to codify that siguro in the committee.
Masasagot po ba natin yung tanong ni Professor Limuel Gabriel, yung can we offer tentative conclusions with regards to the evaluation survey? Parang kailangan tahiin kung ano ang na-establish o natamo ng evaluation kahit sa preliminary level lamang. So any tentative conclusions that we can glean from the results that we have right now? Bakit nakangiti lang si Ma'am Pat? Ayan.
No, tinitingnan ko sorry, am I mute or what?
Ayan,
okay na? Okay, tinitingnan ko si Ernan kasi gusto kong may sasabihin siya. Kasi I haven't...
I'm pulling up the slides. Itong sabi
niya siya yung babad sa data kasi at the moment, and as he was presenting, isang question pa lang ang dun sa faculty survey ang nahihimay niya. So I was looking at him and wondering kung anong sagot niya dyan. Kung meron, would you be comfortable offering any tentative conclusions or something?
No, I think yun nga sabi ko, di ba, we have to we have to reflect upon the findings first. Parang this is just a snapshot of what we have right now. And then, but we really have to sit down internally as a committee too on the findings, the implication recommendations that we will surface from the findings.
Okay, but siguro I also wanted to tie this in with that comment kanina by Ma'am Mabel Fernandez Baliado about, it says perhaps instead of a simple survey, maybe we can do a SWOT analysis instead. Actually, yun na nga, just to remember, I think I just want to say that in fact, we have to do many different ways of evaluating, no? Kasi hindi naman natin makukuha sa isang instrument. Actually, ayoko ding munang sagutin yung hinihingi ni Ma'am Pichi kasi una, nahirapan din talaga yung committee to figure out ultimately what the survey instrument should. Parang ang laki nung, di ba yung nire-recount kanina ni Hernan, na there was a survey that was done in 2018 or 2018. But we ultimately decided to drop that survey because it was too, what is the technical term? What do you use in the social sciences? Kasi baka mamaya ma-misinterpret ang sasabihin ko, yung medyo siya crude, no, that survey. And we, parang it was trying to determine how individual courses achieved or helped achieve the GE objectives, but not in sophisticated enough way that would allow us to actually differentiate. So ang nangyayari, most of the students would say they agreed, no, with everything. So wala siyang, hindi siya nakakapag-differentiate, no. So and then we did the focus group discussions with the students in 2019, I think, and that seemed to yield more insights, no. And more useful insights with regard to what their GE experience is like, and what they consider to be, what were the concerns, no? What were the issues. So mas useful in the sense na you will get to see nga things that will help you improve the program, no? So parang there are what is appearing, at least from my very tentative position, is there are some types of data that we collect, and that we collect in a certain way that are immediately useful for example, for improving the way we design our GE courses. And for the most part, that has been, for example, the conversations we've had throughout this GE conference. Itong the one for which this is the last day, no? So, halimbawa, yung sinasabing SWOT analysis, pwede talaga natin siyang gawin based on what the panelists presented, for example, and discussions, no? So, of course, that's a very different way of assessing and very different methodology compared to, for example, something like this survey instrument. But the analysis of the survey results is very preliminary. I think that the faculty instrument will yield quite a bit of information because it is useful, immediately actionable by faculty themselves results, I mean, because that instrument is really designed to get the faculty to reflect on certain things, no, and to parang mas may open-ended questions and so on. Pero yung sa students, and that's always the limitation, I guess, of these kinds of surveys. I don't know how do you characterize that kind of survey. Yung sa students, kailangan pang intindihin kung, halimbawa, yung sinasabi ng mga estudyante na parang they least agree with the statement that they get prompt feedback compared to all the other statements. The question, of course, is it a significant difference? And because from that item, then we can make certain recommendations, presumably. So yung ganun ba? Pero it's very early in the analysis.
Pat, question from Professor Joby Peregrino. Sa konteksto ng pag-iral ng GE courses sa UP kasama ang mga outcome ng GE, saan naging malakas, saan naging mahina ang GE courses base sa datos na nakuha ninyo?
Okay. So Hernan, can you show that slide again? I don't know if it answered that. That's yung slide about dun sa student survey, yung the one about the program outcomes or something.
This one?
Hindi pa siya ma-share.
Ay, wait. Sorry. Yan. But I think we have to note nga na these are not course level answers. These are program level classes. So I think if you're looking for course specific strengths and weaknesses, we won't be able to answer using this survey. Pero at the program level, ito, makikita natin na in general, using the predefined program outcomes, in general, the students agreed that the courses that they have taken so far collectively meet the program outcomes.
There's a slide, I think, farther down towards the end where you talk about the additional questions that were included in the.
Yan.
Yeah. Oo.
So yeah, we have the data which we still need to process. Ito, this would be more listing of courses, the ones that they which best meet the GA program objectives, the ones they enjoy the most, they like the best, and then we have one open-ended item on the students' descriptions of their GA experience so far.
Nawala si Ma'am Farah?
Yes, nandito po.
Okay.
Ako po may idadagdag kayo, sorry.
No.
Would the GE program evaluation address differences in core program prescribed and GE electives? I am teaching a GE elective and aspire for it to level up.
I didn't get the
question.
Would the GE program evaluation address differences in core GE program prescribed and GE electives? I am teaching a GE elective and aspire for it to level up.
You know, from the data that we now have, we'll be able to identify which are the parang quote-unquote best performing classes, and then maybe investigate subsequently. Ganun nga siya, di ba? Because we're still essentially developing the overall framework for this evaluation. The instruments are still being refined, and then we'll be doing focus group discussions to enlighten us on certain items. So ganyan, so paulit-ulit talaga pa ito hanggang maayos natin yung instruments at masatisfy lahat ng mga pangangailangang data. Because as I said earlier, the first two surveys that we conducted were very course-based. So di ba merong learning outcomes and program outcomes, and then we simply asked the faculty members and students to answer whether they strongly agreed, strongly disagreed, strongly agree to strongly disagree, whether the course that they are taking meets each of those learning outcomes. Pero pagdating nga sa dulo, it became such a tedious process for everyone, for the students, and in terms of analysis, kasi hindi siya walang nabubuong image of the GE program. So I think ang lumalabas dito sa ating discussion today, we need a mix of the course level and the program level evaluation nga. But we have to revisit then the framework, siguro katulad na sinasabi na ano ba yung hypothesis natin talaga at ano yung policy implications na kailangan nating sagutin further down the line.
Related comment ko siguro ito no, with this evaluation survey, are we evaluating student-teacher experience or are we evaluating the effectiveness of GE, achieving our GE objectives? No? Perhaps it would help if we make a distinction.
Right. Yeah. Just to say that actually it is as explained, no, as presented. It's really and also as articulated by Prof. Pichi in another comment earlier, na this current instrument that was the initial results of which were presented really focuses on the experience of teaching and learning GE, no. So it's not an evaluation of the effectiveness of particular courses, or even of the collectivity or the set of GE courses in terms of achieving the outcomes. Yung pag-achieve ng mga outcomes, we really need to, if that is our objective, and what increasingly what appears here is this. Naisip ko lang na actually kasi unlike the students where we had a focus group discussion with the students, as I said, in 2019, and that informed the construction of that particular instrument, we needed in a way parang okay. So dun sa focus group discussions with this very small number of students in all of the campuses, there emerged a particular set of observations with regard to GE as a program, no, and the experience of taking GE courses. Now, basically, the next step, therefore, was to see to try and get a bigger group of students, no, to get all students, in fact, to tell us what they think about GE as an experience. So ultimately that's what this particular student survey questionnaire is about. Okay, so it's a description, but of course, what the questions as they are currently phrased elides or does not explicitly state is the current pandemic situation that we now have. But that's not a problem, because if you administer the same instrument to different set of students at different points in time, then you can compare. Diba? You can, knowing the context, you can probably make certain limited conclusions, draw limited conclusions. Ngayon, that's for the students. Yung sa faculty talaga is a very different thing also. Initially, there was an attempt to try and make a parallel or an equivalent survey instrument for the faculty. Pero ultimately, we junked that. Kasi what we realized is you cannot ask the faculty those same questions in the first place. We have not even actually had, and in a way, this is what this conversation should be. I would encourage more of you to just speak rather than just comment. Kasi ang wala pa sa faculty is the focus group discussion with the faculty on exactly what it is that we would like to find out about the GE program. Okay, if you look at the GE conference, this current one, we had conversations about each of the different courses, no? So that's fine, and that's very useful. And we learned a whole lot of things, I think, from listening to each other about each particular GE course. And already, each group of GE faculty who teach the same course already have plans with regard to continuing their conversation and also acting on the insights that they drew from that conversation. But this particular conversation now that we are trying to have, I think we should try and look at it that way, no? If we were to continue in an evaluation of the program as a whole, okay, and going beyond individual courses and trying to look at the relationships between courses, for example, what should we be asking? And how should we be asking them?
Okay, thank you. Yung may nagtatanong, we should clarify that, maybe we should clarify that this evaluation is only for GE during or for the remote teaching learning mode. And then related question ay ano ang kahalagahan at layunin ng evaluation mechanism sa panahon ng pandemya kung di ito kumakatuman sa dating normal na kalagayan?
Ano daw ulit? Sorry.
Una, linawin kung yung evaluation ba is for GE during or for the RTL mode, for the remote teaching learning mode. And ano ang kahalagahan at layunin ng evaluation mechanism sa panahon ng pandemya kung di ito kumakatawan sa dating normal na kalagayan?
Other members of the committee, do you want to answer that?
Ma'am Pat, hindi naman, di ba parang napag-usapan na hindi naman ito totally na pang remote teaching ano lang. Hindi ito specifically for just the semester na inabot ng pandemic. But it's a bigger yung survey, gusto niyang makita yung GE experience even pre-pandemic. Although meron tayong konting mga tanong about how was the GE program delivery or mga courses, paano siya naapektuhan nung shift to online learning and teaching. So it's not specifically, I think, for just for this specific ano ba yan? Hindi siya pandemic related lang yung mga tanong, but bigger GE experience.
Okay. Ma'am Pichi, you raise your hand.
Okay, I think perhaps it's not really an evaluation survey. It's really what we would call in org psych a climate survey. You know, you want to find out at this point how do people experience this particular course that is being taught or is being taken by students. No? So as I think I commented earlier, what we can do at this point is to provide the description uh, of how students or faculty experience the GE course. And you can do that across the system, but better analysis would be per CU because then you have a more nuanced context. And then you can compare freshmen with seniors, or you can compare experiences of instructors with professors, no? Because you have those social demographics and those categories ready. No? So parang it's a climate survey. Climate survey is a collection of perceptions, no, of members of an organization concerning a particular aspect. So it's very useful because then it also performs a diagnostic sort of a role in the sense that you can see, oh, these descriptions or perceptions are relatively more negative compared to this other one. And then it points you towards what we would call, we don't say weaknesses and strengths, so we say areas of concern, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Sir Benny, you're raising your hand.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my bandwidth is so limited, so let me just speak, please. First of all, I realize I would concede na napakahirap gumawa ng evaluation framework, hindi po ba? And then even to roll it out. So I would temper our expectations of so-called conclusions from this. And since Professor Peach already mentioned the term climate, that gives me also a good label. Perhaps we should temper, if I may say, be modest with our appreciation of the current data. Yeah, it sounds, now that she said it, it sounds to me more like a climate survey. Having said that, I would also wish to see the use of, say, mining the set data for whatever it's worth, rather than, this is connected to my question earlier of asking students over and over again about evaluations. That is really not the best way to solicit honest and earnest feedback. For example, I would wonder, have we mined the data of set for GE courses versus for non-GE courses? And would we correlate the same student commenting on several courses, both GE and non-GE? I mean, that's a kind of cross-sectional we could also find very useful for context. I would end by commenting that the survey like this of climate and whatever, yung like its scale of several items, tends to be disemboweled or disaggregated. It becomes too difficult. It's the same persons who commented that the feedback of teachers were late were the same persons who commented that they were dissatisfied. I mean, that's an interesting question, don't you think? I don't even believe, for example, to take it at face value what late means or what too much means without comparing to workload or the same attribute in other courses, non-GE. In other words, the comparison is lost even in context, if I think about it. Like you asked, does this course, GE course, have too much requirements compared with other courses or majors? that question to me is a very risky question for misinterpretation. Having said that, climate or attitude or opinion surveys, of course, are welcome. And so I would say personally, I have, to be realistic, I don't expect too much yet from our evaluation so far. If it be a climate survey, I love that. But I would really suggest that we mine all the rest of data elsewhere, including set evaluations, to get restarted. And having said that, I'll say again, ang hirap talaga gumawa ng evaluation, di po ba? But the big step really is, what is the purpose of the evaluation? And I wish we would say it's not the grading or rating of every teacher. If that were, we will never get there. But perhaps the big issues of the design. Having said that, as I said, I understand how difficult the problem, quote unquote, is. So we can all contribute how to refine or limit the scope of the problem in the research. Now I'm talking like we're suggesting how to limit our research. I hope you appreciate my point that it's too big a problem to answer this afternoon, I think. And I feel for Sir Hernan, ang dami mong kailangang i-crunch, no? But every which way we're double or we're rethinking, are we crunching the right way? So it's almost bottomless. But climate survey, we appreciate. But I hope that we will rethink the purpose of evaluation. Otherwise, none of us in this forum will ever be satisfied. That's guaranteed. I mean, because we have different expectations. But keep on, please. Unless you keep doing this, we cannot reflect on what else can be improved on, I would guess. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, sir. Anyone who wants to respond?
Yeah, siguro nga, Prof. Pat, because we need to label in our framework, in our matrix of activities, we just labeled it as a new survey. And then based on the G experience. So I think right now we have this climate survey, which has will be able to contribute to the bigger framework of evaluation. But and then marami kasing definitions of evaluation, and then we have to review what dimensions of evaluation should we really hit in our activities. Kasi katulad ng nabanggit ni VC Pacheco, we have the set data, which will, sa ating timeline, we will process next semester. And then we'll see kung anong meron doon, and if that is a more effective evaluation tool, or we still need yung nabanggit kanina na SWOT analysis naman na approach. But I think once we have more data points, may nabanggit din na in previous GE programs, meron na ring evaluation data. So we'll, I think, yung pull everything together, and then maybe try to do preliminary SWOT analysis and then see what data are we missing, what mga ganyan. So we have to go back parang to the drawing board. At thank you very much for the comments na nandito. At siguro, yung climate survey din po, right now we're doing this during the pandemic, so it's noted that we're doing this in the pandemic, but this is not the only time that we're going to do this. Ang schedule nga ay every semester that every second semester, all being well, we will do this. And then we'll contextualize the findings na ito, yung survey na ginawa, na talagang lahat tayo naka-virtual learning. And then maybe, hopefully, when we do this in the second semester, in the next academic year, iba naman yung context natin. And then we'll be able to compare ang nagbago yung context halimbawa. Ganun, Prof.
Okay. But in addition, or just to use the opportunity also to take advantage of the opportunity, as I said, this is actually a space for us to actually articulate our wish list insofar as a GE program evaluation is concerned. No? What do we want to find out? What questions do we have about the GE program that could somehow be addressed by doing a program level evaluation, as distinct from, for example, a course evaluation, or even an evaluation of teachers, such as in the SEP. Diba? So, ano yung mga, kasi may mga, alam mo yon, parang ako personally, since I might as well, as an example, okay, personally, I would like to know whether, for instance, the design of the GE program is, whether it matters, okay? So for example, tama ba yung size ng GE program? Merong bang nararamdaman na difference sa mga estudyante between their GE courses and their non-GE courses? Do they realize, if at all, how, is there a relationship between GE and non-GE? To what extent does one contribute to the other? For instance, and then when we, as you know, with regard to the achievement of the GE program outcomes, as I said, we have to find a way of measuring that is not so, that does not lend themselves, that is not leading ba? That does not lead respondents to give us certain answers, no? So, for example, if we were really wanting to measure the extent to which GE courses develop nationalism, for instance na lang, no? Or whatever other values we have, no, in the program, usually ang isang approach dyan that is taken, but which is very difficult to do, and is also fraught with methodological issues, is an attitudinal survey. Di ba, na mahirap. Do you remember, some of you might remember, some years ago, there was a CABS survey, the Knowledge, Attitudes, and Values Survey, that was conducted in UP, and which the findings of which were so horrifying, at least from the point of view of some people, that because it revealed that UP had lost its soul, quote unquote, and in fact, the results of that survey became the basis for the Pahinungod program. I haven't actually seen the Pahinungod, the survey, sorry, that particular CAB survey kung paano nila, but I would imagine that if you were wanting to measure things like that, that would be an attitudinal scale, which, as I said, is quite difficult to do. Yeah, implicit measures. Okay, so yeah, do you want to just tell us what else you'd like to find out about the program as a whole, beyond particular courses and beyond teaching strategies, no? Kasi yung teaching strategies, yun na nga yung nakakatch na nga yun ng mga, for example, our discussion over the past few weeks, no? Our conversations, no? People have been comparing notes about their approaches. Pero yung mga program level design, questions, meron pa bang questions na sa palagay nyo we should all remember and try and somehow measure?
Meron po kayong suggested items, no, that we can include in future evaluation surveys or future assessment instruments that the committee will come up with. Pwede nyo pong i-post ngayon sa chat box, and you can also email them to the email address shown earlier. Yung isa lang kanina, kung yung areas of concern ba from the results, meron ba tayong ma-identify areas of concern? In this context of the pandemic. I think yung isa kong napansin din sa survey results, talaga yung motivation, student motivation when it comes to learning. I think ang laki talaga ng effect sitwasyon din sa response nila, kaya medyo mababa yung sabi ko yung Sir Hernan, well, they appreciate GE, well, they value the things that they learn from GE, yung motivation talaga na for learning is very low, and I think the situation is a great effect on that. Siguro yung kailangan natin tingnan talaga at lumalabas yung paulit-ulit sa GE conversations natin, how to motivate students more. Okay? Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your suggestions. Again, if you have more suggestions for future assessment, evaluation, please email them to the yung email address or ipopost na lang po namin sa chat box, and then I will turn you over to Professor Pison for the synthesis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Farah. And thank you very much po sa lahat ng nagpadala ng questions. Marami pa talagang trabaho yung TWG. At very fruitful naman yung mga lumabas na mga issues regarding the design, the hypothesis, na pwede talagang pag-usapan ng ulit ng committee at kung paano i-mine ng data na nakuha from the preliminary survey. Naglista ako ng ilang mga components or mga ilang highlights nung survey, nung evaluation, pero siguro hindi ko na rin uulitin. Mas mahalaga sa panahong ito or at this point ang mga na-raise siguro na suggestions or concerns mula sa ating mga faculty, no? I think mas magandang i-synthesize na lang yon para fresh din sa mga committee members. Malakas ang yung first nakita namin yung qualitative data that has to go through validation, how to compare data across years and variables. Siguro pag-uusapan yung cross-sectional and longitudinal analysis na pwede pang gawin based on the data na nakuha from the survey. May mga concerns regarding the different enabling environments of the CUs, no, paano ito maa-address ng evaluation, and I think sinagot naman ito ni Sir Hernan na kaya mahalaga na we encourage both the faculty and the students to answer the survey pag ito ay na-roll out, of course after revising some of the items based on the suggestions. Meron ding concern regarding the method. Ano ba talaga ang method na gagamitin para masaklawan lahat ng concerns para masaklawan ng iba't ibang aspeto ng program. So as Ma'am Pat clarified, mixed methods ang makakatulong sa atin. May FGDs. Meron din isa sa ating isang faculty na nag-type in ng comment sa chat box na years ago nagkaroon ng FGD nga, no, students, administrators at teachers, medyo fruitful din yung mga nakuhang data from the FGD. Meron ding nagsuggest na i-link ang survey to student and faculty records, but as what Sir Hernan said, we will discuss this, but also in relation to yung data privacy and yung mga protocols, no. Kasi natatandaan ko pa ulit-ulit itong issue na tong data privacy habang ginagawa yung questions or items para sa evaluation na ito. And the possible revision, may nagtanong din kung anong kung mare-revise ba ang SET or other forms of evaluation in relation to the survey results na ginawa ng TWG. I think may tatlo kong nakitang comment sa chat box na ang concern is ano ang relationship or kaugnayan ng evaluation na ginawa sa SET ng teacher or sa promotion. Meron ba itong kaugnayan? Siguro at kailangan klaruhin din to kung isa ba ito sa aim ng evaluation. Kung objective ba ito ng evaluation na itali ito sa promotion or sa SET. So, si Ma'am Peach po, kinlarify din ano yung mga recent developments sa SET, lalo na nung nagka-pandemya, ano yung mga different aspects na pwedeng balikan dahil iba na nga din ang situation or teaching and learning situation. So, we clarified, the comments from the audience also clarified the need or emphasized the need to clarify the problem, research design, perhaps the parameters also of the evaluation. marami ding nag-send in ng comments regarding how this GE evaluation can help us improve the way we reach out to our students now. Yung hindi masyadong cognitive part nung GE, but I think ang mga comments na to ay based on how students feel these days. Yung nakita din naman ito yung low motivation, yung sa scale na binigay po ni Sir Hernan, yung low motivation to learn because of what happened, no? Suggestion also is how to improve the GE program. Paano matutulungan ang mga estudyante, kung pwede ba daw sakupin ng evaluation yung mga questions as to paano matutulungan ng estudyante to cope, kasi medyo mahaba pa itong online learning and online teaching natin. Suggestion also to provide a description, kung mas maganda siguro na lang na itong yung climate, no? Yung sinabi ni Ma'am Peach na maraming nakagusto dun sa term na yon, na ang gagamitin na lang natin ay climate survey, not exactly an evaluation, no? It's a better, it's a more accurate term to describe the GE experience of both teachers and students, what this climate survey will reveal and how it will help us address some of the concerns in our GE courses or the GE program, which is yun naman talaga ang ating aim, no? Makita kung ano, how to improve the GE program. Mahalaga ang comment ng lahat. Meron din pong na share po si VC Benny, yung to mine the set data of both GE and non-GE courses. Other sources of data na pwedeng gamitin, pwedeng i-correlate doon sa data na nakuha sa preliminary survey. And maganda yung ni-raise ni Ma'am Pat na itong opportunity na to, yung lalo na sa Q&A. It was a good opportunity for us to ask or to share among ourselves, no, among with the faculty, ano ba yung mga dapat nating itanong sa survey, no? What questions to ask to help us come up with a clearer design, perhaps, or to help us come up with clearer hypothesis and assumptions. So, siguro gano'n na lang, no, ang pagtatapos nung synthesis ko, more of ano yung mga lumabas na comments na nakuha naman namin dito sa ating chat box. Maraming salamat dun po sa nagtanong, nagbigay ng mga komento and suggestions. Marami pang trabaho talaga. As what Sir Hernan said, ayaw din naming magbigay ng medyo, kahit yung preliminary findings, no, mahirap mag-conclude sa panahong ito at this point, no, kasi as what Sir Hernan said, mainit pa yung mga datos, no, nung nakuha niya. At papasalamat din tayo dahil at least may mga nakuhang keywords, key concepts na pwedeng nating tingnan at the CU level. Balik-balikan natin at ano pa po yung pwede nating abangan based on the data na nakuha dito sa preliminary survey. So, I guess yun lang po, no? Maraming salamat sa lahat na nag-participate. Mahirap talagang gumawa ng evaluation, climate survey, pero with all the comments that were sent to us, we can assure you na we will consider all the angles that were presented to us. Okay, marami pong salamat. Pwede ko pong tawagin si Ma'am Amor to present the Certificate of Appreciation. At saka wag daw ko yung aalis at may picture taking tayo pagkatapos. VC Amor, nandyan po ba kayo? Ma'am Amor, are you there?
Freeze si ma'am.
Nag-freeze siya.
Hintayin lang natin.
Hintayin natin. Sandali. Oo nga, parang silence.
Pagod na tayo. My goodness, this is a 6-day conference. Do you realize? Dapat nag-end na tayo kaninang umaga.
Akala, di ba, parang pababa yung energy, parang umakyat ulit. Salamat sa lahat, Ma'am Nax. Hello. Salamat, Sir VC Pacheco. Hello, Ma'am Peach.
Maybe we
we should just ang bibigyan ata ng certificate of appreciation si Sir Hernan. So, Ma'am Pat, ikaw na lang
lang tayo.
Let's have a picture taking na lang. Pero wala si Ma'am.
Wala siya.
Where are you? I'm typing on Viber.
Sige po. Naka-flash ang mga certificate of appreciation.
Oo, wag na.
Wag na.
What happened? Oh, Ma'am, Ma'am Banji, can you speak? Naka-mute ka, Ma'am.
Ma'am Pat, kayo na lang.
Naka-mute ka, Ma'am.
Okay, I will turn after.
Bakit walang sound si Ma'am?
Mag-picture
everyone. Nice to see you all. Mag-picture taking na lang tayo para tapos na.
Huwag na tayo mag-certificate.
Wag na tayong mga formalidad. I'm so tired.
Okay na po ba yung audio ko, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Sorry, talagang pag kailangan ikaw na nag-unstable internet. At this point, allow me to present the certificate of appreciation to our panelists. No, beginning with Ma'am Ruth. So Dr. Ruth Jordana Pison for imparting her invaluable knowledge as moderator during the Plenary Conversations 2 of the UP System G Conference 2021 with the theme General Education in and the Next Normal, given this 11th day of May 2021, signed VP for Academic Affairs, Maria Cynthia Rose Manson Bautista. We also present a certificate of appreciation to Ma'am Farah Kunanan for assisting Ma'am Ruth in the Q&A portion of the Plenary 2 Conversations. And of course, our resource person, panel speaker representing the TWG of GE Evaluation, si Dr. Fernando Paragas. At this point, I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the Technical Working Group on GE Implementation. So ito po yung grupo na nagbuo nitong GE Conversations that began on April 26. So we have the following members of the Implementation Technical Working Group: si Ma'am Pat Arinto as member at large, si Ma'am Maricon Carillo of UP Manila, Sir Shane Carion of UP Cebu, Ma'am Nera Catalbas of UP Visayas, Sir Mo Liangco of UP Los Baños, Ma'am Lea Abaya of UP Baguio, and Sir Baggy Bagarinaw of UP Open University. Part din po ng TWG sina Ma'am Nak Gabriel of UP Diliman, si Ma'am Nel Faglova of UP Mindanao, and the members at large, si Ma'am Alisa and yours truly. So we also thank the support staff, secretariat that made these GE Conversations, supporting the GE Conversations that happened in the past 6 days. Si Steph Lakbayo, si Kai Cardos, si Danica Valdez, si Rica Santos, si Cars Manicaw, si Isaiah Ocampo, at saka si Team Gaspe. So mga OVPAA staff po ito. So muli, marami pong salamat sa lahat. We were apart but together in the past conversations. So we reflected, so yung objectives ng G conference natin, we reflected, we rearticulated, and hopefully based on our reflection and rearticulation, we move forward with the reinvigoration of the teaching and learning of GE. Coming from this part 1 and part 2 of the GE conference. And I'd like to borrow the take-home message of Sir Alvaro Calara kaninang umaga sa Plenary 1 conversation. Think well, think of others, and think together. So with that, we close the UP System G Conference 2021, and we thank everyone for their participation and all the panel members. So I'd also like to inform everyone that we will make available the recordings of all these conversations. At tayo nyo lang po, bubuuin lang namin, and we will share how you will be able to access these recordings. Okay, so maraming salamat.
Wala pang picture taking, ma'am.
Opo, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, we'd like to request everyone to turn on their video if they can, so we can have the picture taking. So medyo several pages po. So pa-freeze lang ng ng ngiti. Si Steph po ang kukuha ng picture.
Okay po. Ayan. So, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next. 1, 2, 3. Next. Next. 4 more. 1, 2, 3.
Hindi ako pwedeng celebrity.
Second to the last. And last. Thank you po. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, maraming
Thank you,
salamat.
everyone.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
It's
Ingat
back
po.
to the salt
Ingat lahat.
mines. Bye.
Bye. Ingat.
Bye. Thank you. Ingat
Thank you.
po lahat.
Thank you, Ma'am Banj. Bye-bye. Ma'am Pat, thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am Ruth, haba na ng hair mo.